So we have this misconception of saying, oh, well, it's Devil's Day, and it's all evil, right? Yeah. I'm clearly not going to condemn in any way children getting free candy.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the downside? Yeah.
But we have this concern of saying the soul of my child's going to be tainted if they go out and trick or treat. I'm telling you right now, no, it is not.
No, it isn't. Because I've trick or treated every year, including last year.
Now that I reflect on it, here's the entire plot twist here. Tim, what are you doing?
I'm not Tim, I'm Batman.
Well, Batman, tell Tim we have an episode to film today.
No.
Can you even breathe in that thing?
Not while there's injustice out there. I'm actually not disguising my voice. I just can't breathe.
Well, Batman, could you tell Tim to hurry up and get out of that suffocating costume? Because we have an episode to film today. I'm Parker.
And I'm Tim.
And this is the Rage Podcast, where today we are going to be discussing a fairly current event that's going to be taking place. Halloween, or it has various other names that we will be mentioning tonight. So, Tim, how much do you love Halloween?
I am actually a fan of Halloween, being a superhero guy from way back. I'm a little embarrassed when we were talking about how to start this episode. You guys asked me to go home and get the Batman mask. I wasn't sure which one you wanted me to get, so I brought two of the many that I have.
A man who is dedicated to the trade, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're here. It's coming close to the holiday season of Halloween, and we can kind of get some backlash from some people about this holiday, right?
Yes.
We are in the church, and most of that backlash, if not all of it, comes from people in the church. So let's take this episode today and try to hash out some of these misconceptions of Halloween.
Yeah.
So, Tim, where did Halloween come from?
Well, Halloween goes actually way back. The original version of it was All Hallows Eve, which is the day before All Saints Day, which always was the next day. And it's a celebration of the people who passed away, of loved ones that we had who've gone home
Hallows,
to heaven.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, Hallows. And we get the chance to just take a day of remembrance. It's very much similar to a Memorial Day, only more of a Christian connotation than what Memorial Day is.
Well, yeah. So, Memorial Day is, but that's actually a good comparison. Memorial Day is when we celebrate the lives that were lost in battle and war. All Saints Day is a day where we celebrate the Christian souls that are now in full communion in the presence of Christ, right?
Yes.
In that full presence there, and that's
for any reason. We're not just looking at veterans who passed away, obviously,
exactly.
but we're looking at all the saints, all the people who passed away with who were Christians and have gone home to be with Jesus, and we certainly celebrate that. That's what All Saints Day is about.
And it's a very undermined, it's a Christian holiday that often slips under the table.
Absolutely. In fact, in our pre-production meeting, we were talking, and I've been doing this a long time, and I did not realize the positioning of All Saints Day comes at the end of what we call the Christian year. So we have, say those dates again. We have All Saints Day.
So we have So All Saints Day is technically the first day of November 1st. But we normally in the church celebrate that on the first Sunday of November, which is All Saints Sunday is what we actually call it. And then at the end of the church year, you have Christ is King as Sunday, and then the church year starts all over in December.
All over with Advent. Yeah, so it's interesting that this is kind of the start of the grand finale at the end of the Christian year is All Saints Day. I had never put that together before.
Yeah.
And it's a great celebration. It's a good time to remind ourselves of the people who passed away, gone, but certainly not forgotten.
Yeah.
People who are home with Christ. And All Hallows Eve was kind of like Christmas Eve is to Christmas. Well, All Hallows Eve was the eve of All Saints Day.
Yeah, and because All Saints Day, and this is something we don't do anymore in our culture, but in the church, I feel like we should, All Saints Day, we truly are to celebrate the fact that even though life has ended here on earth, life for the saints has not had any interference, right? Life for the saints continues on in the realms of heaven, right? And so we get to celebrate that. That's something, I mean, I'm not going to try to undermine anything else, but I mean, that's one of the awesome things about Christianity is life doesn't end. We get to celebrate All Saints Day, recognizing that even though we have lost some of our friends and family members here on earth physically, we know that they still live and dwell in communion with Christ in heaven, right?
And All Saints Day is a reminder of that. It's a time that we're supposed to come together. You know, we're usually, if you're in church, you'll probably read a list of names. A lot of churches do. We will here at Wayne Street. Again, it's just a time to remind ourselves of saints who have passed away. Not only the lives lived amongst us, but a reminder that their lives continue, as you just said.
Absolutely.
They continue in the presence of God. And unfortunately, what has happened, we'll kind of move on to the next phase, is... as also often happens, a lot of the Christian holidays sort of get co-opted, hostile takeover.
Hostile takeover is the appropriate way.
Yeah, and now it's become Halloween. Now, as the beginning of this episode would say, I don't have any problem with people dressing up as superheroes or historical figures or just goofy things. I don't know about the demons and devils and things like that, but you know, people want to dress up and they go out and they celebrate these characters that they love. That's great. We need to make sure that we recognize that's actually not a celebration of All Saints Day. They just happen to happen at the same time.
If I could, I'm clearly not going to condemn in any way children getting free candy.
What is the downside?
I mean, that dress up, you get to fill out your childhood dreams of being the superhero or whatever, and get candy. I'm not going to tell a kid not to do that.
Yeah, there's literally no downside.
I mean, So absolutely, I don't think we as the church, we as Christians need to condemn trick-or-treat and Halloween.
Correct. And what's happened is, as part of the co-opting and to what you said, people wanted to celebrate that, and around the early 1900s, it began to be a thing that was celebrated. And then, like with all the other holidays on the calendar, pick one, they're all the same way. A way to capitalize on that financially was found in the selling of candy and the selling of costumes and decorations and all that stuff. And suddenly now we've got trick-or-treat and Halloween stuff out like in August.
Yeah.
And since it got co-opted in that way and kind of corrupted into this holiday of the celebration of Devil Day and all that stuff, that's really too bad because it's overshadowing the awesome holiday that says, hey, remember your loved ones that passed away? Oh, by the way, they're still alive.
They're not gone, right? That's the holiday we celebrate. Right. And to go back, so to understand where the concept of trick or treat came from, right? You have Beggar's Day, which takes place on the 31st of October. And that was when people would go up to the wealthier people in the community and they would give them cakes, is what they used to get, not candy in a Snickers bar like we do today. And the exchange would be, I'm going to give you this cake as long as you pray and remember my loved ones that passed on. So pray for them, pray for me, pray for the saints, and in exchange, you'll get this cake, right?
Yeah.
That's where the kind of the tradition of trick-or-treating has come out of, and we can see some kind of concerning things back then, right? When we're talking about praying to the dead and things like that, we can see some concerns with that.
Absolutely.
However, today, no one's having your children pray to dead people.
Yes.
You're giving them candy.
Yeah.
And they get to have the biggest smile on their face because they can partake in being the pirate that they've always wanted to be.
And if any of you would like to return to the roots of Halloween, Parker and I would be glad to pray for you in exchange for cake. Very true. We're throwing our services out there, so just let us know.
But yeah, so we have this misconception of saying, oh, well, it's Devil's Day, and you got all the kids dressing up and doing all these things, and it's all evil, right?
Yeah, and that was a huge thing back in the 1980s when I was growing up. We still see it today. It's not gone, but in the 1980s when everything was satanic, I mean, people were like playing music backwards, and it was telling them to worship Satan and all this stuff. One of the things that came out of that was the idea that all these weird people were out there trying to kill your kids with Halloween candy by putting razor blades in them or lacing them with drugs, because, you know, drug dealers love giving away drugs for free. That's amazing. I'm not saying that has never happened, because I'm sure somebody has had it happen at one point or another, but it wasn't nearly as prevalent as people were saying it was.
But, you know, I mean, we also express this through a different lens, recognizing the areas we live in, right?
Yes.
Where we live in safe communities for the most part. And, you know, we don't have those big concerns, but we have this concern of saying the soul of my child's going to be tainted if they go out and trick or treat. I'm telling you right now, No, it is not.
No, it isn't. Because
Right?
I've trick-or-treated every year, including last year.
Yeah. So what I want to kind of express here in this episode is we have two holidays we celebrate. One is a religious celebration, right? All Saints Day.
And it's pretty awesome.
And the church owns the claims to that, right? That's the church's, and we're not going to corrupt that in any way. And we don't want to see it corrupted in any way.
No, heavens no.
However, trick or treat is really, in all reality, a holiday expressed by culture, right? And now, Jesus does not say, all right, well, you must abstain from everything that culture does. That's not true. We are allowed to express and celebrate cultural holidays because, again, trick-or-treat is not demonic in any way.
Yeah. Don't let your kids dress up as Satan. I mean, that's probably a good place to start. But
I mean, don't make it.
Yeah.
Don't make it demonic.
Right. But the idea of kids dressing up in colorful costumes and going out and freezing to death, collecting candy, I mean...
Yeah.
It's great. Take your kids out and enjoy that.
It's a cultural holiday that we, that you get to celebrate. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
What, it's something cultural we do. And I doubt that Jesus is saying, nope, that kid can't get free candy. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And actually, given how often people don't meet their neighbors anymore, this might be a great time to go knock on your neighbor's door and get a candy bar from them and introduce yourself.
Make friends in your community nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
And this is good for parental advice, even though I am very far from being a parent, right? If you're going to send your kid up to a person's house and get candy, go with them.
Yes.
Check and see, making sure the house isn't any reason to have alarm in the first place, right? But don't jump to the assumption of saying, well, this house looks sketchy, so they're clearly putting razor blades in their Snickers bar.
Yeah, because what that represents is a lack of trust in your community. I mean, honestly, I hadn't even thought it that way till you said that. But the idea is we don't trust our neighbors anymore because we don't know them. Yeah. I mean, if you're going over to your grandpa's house, how many times does grandma give you a cookie and you're like, oh no, let me crumble that up first? I mean, that just doesn't happen because you trust them.
Now that I reflect on it, here's the entire plot twist here. There might be more good behind trick or treat than what the church has ever realized. Going up and greeting your neighbor, saying, hi, how are you? Yeah, the kid goes up and says trick or treat and they get a candy bar. But do you say hi? Do you say, oh, well, how's the night going, right? Have you given away a lot? You can start such basic conversations and build connections in your community through a holiday that so many love to express.
Yeah.
So we as the church, here's what we get to do. We have an awesome holiday we celebrate on November 1st and on the first Sunday of November, right?
And don't neglect it because it is awesome.
Yeah. And celebrate it. Recognize what it is. I don't want to undermine that. But we as the church get to take these holidays that the culture and the world celebrates, such as trick or treat, and we just connected the dots of how the church can use this as a way to, I'm going to use a church word, minister, mission, right?
Yeah.
You get to draw connections in your community. And my goodness, how hard that is to do on the day of social media and everything else where you don't go and actually talk to people anymore. Use that experience of trick or treat for the benefits that we see within it, rather than saying, well, it's cultish. It's a cultish, so we can't celebrate.
Yeah, you're cheating yourself out of the potential of a very good experience.
Yep.
So there are two holidays here. Honestly, it's kind of odd they're together now because they really don't have anything to do with each other anymore. They did originally, but they don't now. But go meet your neighbor. Go meet the people in your community. Just walk around and because a lot of people are going to be out, and it's a great time to go say hi and enjoy the fall weather. Get a costume big enough to put a sweatshirt underneath it, probably. Yeah. But it's just a chance to get out and experience neighborhoods. Celebrate your communities through trick or treat, and then celebrate the community of believers with All Saints Day. Yep. It's the same. It's the same concept.
Yep, it is. And I'm going to tell you, I know you're going to celebrate trick or treat, but I want you to celebrate All Saints Day. If you're watching this video, recognize November 1st is the day, and Sunday, we're going to celebrate it in church, but take that time to remember how great of a blessing it is that life is life eternal.
Well said. And thank you all for tuning in. Go get some candy and celebrate community.